Hello and welcome to my Dwarven Stonelord build. This is going to be page 2 of Falken's build Compendium, and without further ado, let's get into the build. For your class for the Stonelord, it's quite simple. You go down to Paladin, right about here. Then you select the Stonelord Archetype, and you are locked into choosing a dwarf, as you can see here. We have to be one of the following deities, and we have to be a dwarf. Also, the lawful good alignment. Let's talk a little bit about dwarves. They have a annoying debuff of speed being only 20 feet a turn, but this can be mitigated as soon as level 5 or even as soon as level 3, which I will show. This is a two-parter. One of them is a more thematical choice, and the other is more of a quote-unquote optimized choice. Their saving throws are decent, and there aren't really a lot of giants, so you won't benefit too much from this AC bonus here. Some of the enemies will be randomized into being half orcs, so this can come in handy a little bit. It's only a +1 though. The nicest thing though is the +2 racial bonus to perception and the dwarven weapon familiarity. I'll just go basic dwarf, but the overall choices don't really impact your class too much. As for your background, it's quite simple, either a pickpocket or regional into the Warrior of Norm Kings again for axes. Another option is the lumberjack or miner or smith, but if you really want the thematical choices, the miner and the smiths are decent choices. They won't matter too much though. You are already proficient in Warhammer, so you will get a +1 competence bonus or enhancement in case of your weapon proficiencies. If you are going to use Warhammers, which there are a couple of options early on, including the Collapse Warhammer, which you can get either in the Blackwing library from Caleb, or when you can kill him in the Grey Garrison in the library. I'm just gonna go pickpocket for the sake of it. As for your ability scores, you want 17 into strength, 60 or 15 into dexterity, 16 into con, and 10 for the rest of the board. You can drop, say, something like int, but then you will lose skill points and you will only have 1, which is very bad. The two most important stats here are constitution and strength, and the third option here is charisma. For your skills, you can go into the classic athletics and UMD. You can also switch up UMD for something like perception, which is good on all your characters, as each character is able to make a perception check to discover something. For your first feat, since we are going to use a dwarven specific weapon, scroll down and you will find 2-weapon fighting down here. What weapon are we going to use? For this build guide, I'm going to use Dwarven Orc Rushes, one of these special Dwarven weapons that don't get a lot of time in the sun. As for deity, it's quite straightforward. Go Torag, you are dwarf, act like one. And as you can see, we are locked into lawful good since we are technically a paladin. Feel free to customize as much as you want. For the first option of level progression on your Stonelord Paladin, the second level will go into Paladin Stonelord and you will get something called Heartstone. At level 1, this will net you an extra AC and damage reduction to Adamantine, and at 6th level it increases by 1 again, and then for every 4 levels thereafter to a maximum of 5 at 18th. As for the skills, just go into what you have already gone into. You could switch UMD for perception. It's completely up to you. At level 3, you have two options. You could either begin your combat reflexes line to get attacks of opportunity equal to dex, or you could do a weapon focus into your Dwarven or Grushes, which is what I'm going to use for this build guide here. Ultimately, it doesn't matter since we will want both of them, but it depends on what you want first. I'm just going to go for Dwarven weapon focus into Dwarven or Grushes, like so. At 3rd level, we also gain Stoneblood. This is a 25% chance to ignore critical hits. 15th level it becomes 50 and 75. At level 4 we get something called Stonelord's Defensive Stance, and while you're in this stance right here, You gain a +2 to melee attack rolls, melee damage rolls, thrown weapon damage rolls, and will saving throws. You also gain a +2 to armor class, dodge, which usually stacks, +2 temporary hit points, but you are pretty much immobile. Though again, that can be circumnavigated if you're on a pet of some kind. And when you end it, you will be fatigued, but there is some stance abilities that can remove that. For level 4 and every other level, just increase strength. Level 4 you also get level 1 paladin spells, and at level 5 we can get a pet, and we also get something called Stone Strike. This will make your melee attacks become adamantine and magical, and add a little bonus to attack and damage rolls. For your level 5 feat, you want to get your outflanks going. Flanking is regularly a +2, but this can be increased to a +4. And here, if you're choosing the option 1 of this build, go into an animal companion and go into your horse. Option 2 will include a more thematical choice for this. Your Heartstone becomes better at level 6, and also you gain your first mercy. For your first mercy, to reduce the impact of getting out of defensive stats, just choose Fatigued. For level 7, make sure you have a Belt of Dexterity +2 or more. That way you can get Improved 2-Weapon Fighting. Improved 2-Weapon Fighting is locked behind 17 dex, and we only have 15. So this is why you want to have at least +2 Belt of Dexterity on. You can just pick it off or take it off afterwards. We also gain level 2 Paladin spells. Increase strength as per usual. And for your first defensive power, I prefer going Smash because that'll net you an extra attack. You may make an extra slam attack per round. And this is only available in the defensive stance, by the way. We also gain the Immune or the Aura of Resolve. At level 9, go Improved Critical and then into your weapon choice. For level 10, this will be your momentarily final Paladin level right now. You get a bit more increase to Stone Strike and Heartstone. Don't worry, we will return to Stonelord levels. And if you do not want to multi-class, you can just take Stonelord to full, aka level 20. Here we also gain access to level 3 Paladin spells. Since we're kind of feat starved, we want potentially to go into something like either Fighter and the classic Mutation Warrior. An argument could also be made for Cavalier and into Gendarme. Since you're on a horse and Gendarme can stack, just make sure you swap over to Spears or Long Spears for this to get maximum damage. I will, for this build guide, go with Fighter and followed by Mutation Warrior. Since we have 3 skill points now, the classic Athletics and UMD, or if you went Perception, you can also get UMD now. Just go into Perception then. Here we want to make sure we take Boon Companion so we don't lose pet progression. And at this point, make sure you equip a +4 Belt of Dexterity so you can take greater 2-weapon fighting to get another attack. For your second level in Mutation Warrior, just increase strength again. And at this point, we can pick up Power Attack for more damage. And since we are now at level 13, we can get Combat Reflexes. We also gain our mutagens, and here you can either boost strength or constitution. At level 14, we can increase our skills and also get our first and start our progression into the Dazzling Display line to unlock Shatter Defenses or Dreadful Carnage, preferably Shatter Defenses. This will be your 5th and probably final level into Mutation Warrior, do be warned. Since we're doing 5 levels of Fighter Mutation Warrior, our horse will be a little bit gimped. It'll be level 19 instead of level 20. Nonetheless, we can pick up Shatter Defenses, and for weapon training this is very important. You want double weapons, since that is what boosts Dwarven Orc Rushes. For level 16 you can return to Paladin and also get something called Stonebane. This will give you Bane against constructs, but there aren't really that many constructs in this game, so it's honestly a quite useless ability. For level 17, Weapon Specialization, Dwarven Orc Rush, and the Mercy doesn't really matter. You could go something like Exhausted, even Stunned, or Staggered. Staggered is decent to have, so you can remove the staggered from Darren. Stunned is generally good, and exhausted is also decent. I am gonna go for stunned, since this is an ability that comes up here and then, here and now. For this, for your defensive power or second defensive power, you could choose increased damage reduction, as this will make you even more of a tank. Nothing happens at level 18, and if you're okay with making your horse a little bit more gimped, you could go into Ranger and then the classic Demon Slayer dip for +2 against all demons in the game. I am just going to continue my Stonelord progression. We get level 4 spells here. Now here's a little bit of a split, since the Mythic path is a bit up to you. This guide will assume you are going with the Aeon Mythic path, but this build also works for the Angel, as does pretty much any other build in this game. My thoughts was that Aeon just fits more thematically with a stoic dwarf kind of character, and Aeon in and of itself is a very strong Mythic path. If you aren't going Aeon, or you don't pick up the echolocation spell, you want or have the echolocation spell available, you should go blind fight to hit concealment. But if you do go Aeon or get the echolocation spell, you can go something like improved initiative for a nice little bonus. That'll probably net you the ability to go first in some combats. And here, if you went full Paladin Stonelord, you are going to get this capstone ability here. A Stonelord's body transforms into living stone. She no longer needs to eat, drink, breathe, or sleep, and she becomes immune to paralysis, poison, and stunning. She also becomes immune to critical hits and precision damage. So you could theoretically become completely immune to crits if you went full Paladin Stonelord. That will cost you these 5 levels of Mutation Warrior down here, and also some rather important feats, such as your greater weapon fighting, power attack, and a mutagen as well. So do so at your own wants and needs. For your first mythic, since you're a melee build, you can go close to the abyss for an extra free attack, and the classic close to the heavens is nice. Instrument of freedom is nice too. Bit of fun is decent for mirror image, and force reality is your thematical Aeon choice. I am gonna go for close to the abyss because I like making extra attacks. If you're playing unfair, the classic rule set of going last stand is basically a must, so you don't die and you lose your game. That latter part only counts if you're playing last Atlantia, of course. Otherwise, leading strike is amazing, since this will proc every time you hit, and then your pet hits, then you hit, then your pet, and so on, getting you an extra 1d6 per mythic rank. So, close to the abyss, followed by leading strike. Mythic 2 is also quite straightforward. You want to increase your damage output, so therefore we want 2 weapon fighting Mythic. This will lessen the penalties on attack rolls for fighting with 2 weapons, which is Androven or Grush, and they will be reduced by 2. You also gain resistance 20 to electricity and immunity to poisons if you're going with the closest to the abyss. Mythic rank 3 will be your first either Aeon or Angel path, but since this build guide will focus on the Aeon path, I will focus on the Aeon abilities, aka these cases here. Ever Ready is nice, especially if you choose the second option of this build that has a free trip pet, but if you don't, even Ever Ready is still nice because attacks of opportunity is easy to create by having other pets such as wolves hit your enemies and thereby triggering a trip. For your first Enforcing Gaze, go for attack. This will increase all my allies' attack rolls by 1+1 per 2 mythic ranks. So right now it'll be 2. This is basically just a +2 that'll increase a fair bit up to a +6. These spells don't really matter too much, but the best in the list are True Strike, Shield of Faith, and Divine Favor. Divine Favor will increase your attack rolls by a decent bit, up to a +3 every 3 caster levels. Shield of Faith is also a +2 deflection bonus, and since you're not using protection rings in this build, you can get a maximum of +5 when you're max level, at level 18 rather. True Strike is just basically a guaranteed hit, since it gives you a +20 to insight bonus. Mythic 4, Improved Critical, Dwarven Rush. The gazes from 4 to 5 aren't really that important since we can't use them, and until you're level 6 Mythic, you can only pretty much use one of these, and I prefer going attack. But at 6 and max level Mythic, you can get either 2 or 3 gazes active at once. But I like going attacks of opportunity since we're stacking them nonetheless. Alternatives could be damage for a damage roll, but honestly, I prefer the attack rolls since that is your chance to hit, and here pick whatever you want. For Mythic 5, if you have a Skald in your party, whether that be a mercenary or just you speccing one of your companions into a bit of Skald, then you should get Mythic Charge, since Pounce will work with this amazingly for extra damage. Otherwise, Mythical Beast to make your pet amazing. And here you can just pick up damage as your third gaze. For Mythic 6 abilities, you want Mythic Power Attack, and it's right there. Since we're using two-handed, we will get the +5 instead of the +3. These gazes can be any you want. I'm just gonna go for damage reduction. The first to third level spells don't matter too much, but the fourth level spells do a lot. Here you can get Echolocation, potentially Divine Power, or Dimension Door, all of which are nice pickups. Death Ward is also a nice pickup. I'm just gonna go for Dimension Door. But the Echolocation is what we're after at Mythic 6, including or as well as the Power Attack Mythic. For Mythic 7, if you didn't pick up Mythical Beast, do that. If not, or if you did, just choose Always a Chance. So when you roll a 1, not if, when you roll a 1, you don't automatically miss. And here the same principle counts, just pick whatever you want. And if you didn't pick up Echolocation at level 4 spells, you can pick up Thought Sense. For your 8th level in Mythic, Dwarven Rush, Mythic Specialization, which just increases your damage by half, up to +5, but right now it's +4. And it will of course stack with all of your other weapon specializations. Here it becomes somewhat relevant again, and you can choose Temporal Jump, so you can zip back and forth. This will basically give your allies the ability to roll with advantage, so that is a nice pickup. For level 6 spells, you can lean into Aeon things and do Dispel Magic, though you're gonna suck at this, be warned. I do like myself a bit of Transformation, Shout Greater, or even Blade Barrier. I'm gonna go for Blade Barrier and Shout Greater. And these last two mythics is basically up to you. You could go Abundant Casting to get 4 more of your level 1 to 3 Paladin spells, some of which are better than others. Last Stand for safety if you haven't picked it up at Mythic 1. Inspirational Leader, I guess. I'm just gonna go for Last Stand, since that reminds me of a dwarf holding the fortress. And again, these don't really matter since you're gonna want to use Temporal Jump, damage, and attack, basically. And for your final, again, anything you want. You could go something like Flawless Attacks to reduce the amount of penalty you're gonna suffer, or something like Improved Initiative to get another +10 initiative. I guess I'm just gonna go for Improved Initiative. Here you have the complete unbuffed version of him. Quite but I will insert a screenshot to showcase what I was able to attain with all the buffs, including from allies and myself, and I will now go over the gear list. For your amulet, you want the classic Valexia, since it's a nice AC bonus, and it also gives you +2 modifier to whatever is the highest. Chainmail of Camaraderie, since you're on a horse, you want to put outflank on your horse and yourself, and this increases the amount of bonus you can or damage you can do from that. The Wandering Conman is nice for the athletics and attack rolls to attacks of opportunity. For your belts, initially go from strength and then go into strength dexterity, and then of course going into belt of physical perfection. Do keep in mind that you want a +4 belt of dex, or a +2 belt of dex, and a +4 belt of dex at level 7 and at level 11 to get your improved and greater 2-weapon fighting. For your gloves, the Fencer's Gift for more damage. Boots of Stampede adds your ranks to athletics, which is, we have full 20 levels of it, to damage rolls on a successful charge. Head up the bitter end to get a +6 potential bonus to these stats right here, and these stack, lasting 3 rounds. And the Broken Trickster is just nice to have for damage reduction 20 to absolutely everything, and also boosting your Wisdom and Charisma by +6. That way you can cast all of your Paladin spells. The Bound of Possibility, the Aeon Mythic, or the Aeon Special Cloak rather, purely for the allies instead are under a constant haste effect. And of course the +4 insight bonus to attack, saving throws and skill checks. Ring of Evasion as per usual to give you reflex saves advantage. This is basically your uncanny dodge thingy. The Ring of the Guiding Star for initiative, also for the +3 damage rolls for a round. An alternative is to put on the Bane of Spirit right here, which is as a swift action you can get +2 bonus to attack rolls and transform your weapon damage into force, which is irresistible basically. Finally, for your braces, initially start off with your braces of lucky thing here that you get at the start intro, and then move into the braces of heavy hand for even more damage. As for your weapon options, you have 2 practically, 3 if you count at the early starts. Your main 2 options are the Torx Wrath Dwarven Archetype here, which can be found at the Exotic Merchant in Chapter 3 when you get Dressen under control, and the Certainty of Death can be found in Blackwater. This is better overall for your trash mobs in the game, but I prefer this because it has holy damage, which is irresistible. For your belt items, extend Meta Magic Rod to increase your spells, Lucky Dice for a +1 luck bonus to attack or damage roll or to AC, depends on the day. This is a randomized bonus. The Jarsic Axe for an extra 1d4 cold, fire, acid, or electricity. It depends on whatever Jarsic Axe wants to give you. The Old Grimoire for extra additional spell slots. And the Covenant of the Inheritor. This is necessary for you to have on your Dwarven Stonelord, but it is just nice to have in general. And this is the second option, the Thematical choice. Mostly for a different pet that more aligns with a dwarf, at least in my mind, since I've watched The Lord of the Rings. And to do that, you want to go into Cavalier and Beast Rider before you get Divine or Paladin level 5. So you could go 4 levels of Paladin first, and then go into Cavalier Beast Rider for 3 levels, and I will just show you the leveling up process. For the thematical choice, I'm just gonna go for 4 levels of Paladin first. Level 3 is still your option between weapon focus, Dwarven or Grush, or combat reflexes. For the sake of perpetuity, I'm just gonna get Dwarven or Grushes again. Now then, at level 4 Paladin, you want to switch over to Cavalier, and then choose Beast Rider. Then you want to check or get Boon Companion to make sure you have the full pet progression. Then feel free to pick whatever order you want. I'm gonna go for the Order of the Sword. It really depends on which level 2 ability from the Cavaliers you want. So read through them at your own behest. And here you are then. You can choose any of these pets then. This is purely for a different pet. You can choose the Diabor. I will link an image on the screen now. And here I recommend going either Evil Will or chaotic will. Ultimately, it's up to you. I'm gonna go for evil will to increase my morale bonus on saving throws when I'm facing off against evil creatures. And we are going 3 levels of Cavalier so we can get Cavalier's charge. We can now pick up improved 2-weapon fighting as we've already done. And now you can return to Paladin Stonelord, increase your strength, your skills as per usual. And here you want to make sure you click Animal Companion and Animal Companion Continue. Level 9 as from the other build is also improved crit into Dwarven or Grush, your weapon choice. Then the Mercy Fatigued, and there you are. Level 10, another Stonelord level, just straight out of the way, get more spells. And here you can again multi-class into the Fighter Mutation Warrior 5 times, or the 1 level dip of Demon Slayer when nothing happens at Paladin Stonelord. I'm gonna go into Fighter and then Mutation Warrior. Since we already have Boon Companion from level 5, we can get Combat Reflexes here a little bit earlier, but do make sure you get greater 2-weapon fighting, and then follow it by something like Combat Reflexes. As per similar to your other or version 1 of this build, Power Attack, you can also start Dazzling Display a little bit earlier since you have bonus feats, and here you also get Mutadins. Here you can pick up Shattered Defenses earlier as well by 1 level. You could now get improved initiative or get some Hammer of the Gap, assuming you don't kill the things immediately or even start weapon specialization already. Make sure again you check weapon training double weapons, which boosts Dwarven or Grushes. And for the rest of the levels, you can now go back into Paladin Stonelord to get your defensive powers. And make sure you pick up Smash, since it's an extra attack in defensive stats. I recommend getting improved initiative here at level 17. And again, this is your time for an optional dip into the Ranger Demon Slayer for +2 against all demons. But I will just, warning, it will reduce your pet's level. But I will just go back into Paladin Stonelord. Again, if you don't have echolocation, meaning if you go the angel route, or don't have access to the echolocation spell from either of your party members, blind fight. But since we are drowning in feats, I'm gonna go for Hammer the Gap. And your final stone level or Stonelord level, level 20, show up your use magic device and athletics. The same mercies apply as well. Same damage reduction. And if you are going for the pet or the boar as your pet, make sure you go for the bully so it can trip great. This will give you 12 Stonelord, 5 Mutation Warrior, and 3 Beast Rider. The gear is exactly the same, but this is purely for the boar pet. With all that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye for now.